Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John.
I'm Claire.
This is Many a True Nerd, and welcome to Fallout. It says a post-nuclear board game down there, but it's quite small. It would be nicer if it said, like, the board game right here, but then it would kind of be, like, over the helmet, so we shouldn't do that. So, this is Fallout, but this is actually a board game, which you'd probably guess from, like, the title and the things I just said. So that's all that's there. So welcome to Fallout, the board game. This might be a bit of a surprise to some of you. Yeah, Fallout's actually had a board game in development for some time at this point. I think this is the first time Fallout's ever had a board game, in fact, and it's interesting. Claire and I took delivery of this a few days ago. We've played a couple of test games, so I think we understand this all pretty well. Now, depending on, like, what your background is, you may be kind of either thinking, like, if you never play board games, this looks somewhat confusing, or if you play a lot of quite complex board games, and Claire and I do enjoy playing the odd board game, you're probably thinking, this doesn't look that complicated at all, this looks quite simple, actually. So, we'll try and explain things as we go along here. Basically, this is the Fallout 3 scenario that you can see around here. Probably, because you've probably detected, there's Megaton over there. By the way, I'm using chopsticks. I'm going to use chopsticks to indicate things. I originally asked Claire if we had anything that we could indicate with, and she said she had, like, she had a Harry Potter wand, but she only had one. So I've made Claire use a chopstick, because I felt intimidated by the fact that she had a Harry Potter wand that was much longer than the chopstick. So we're both using chopsticks instead. There we go. So we've got Megaton over there. Interestingly, there's the tower, which I assume is supposed to be like Tenpenny Tower, but I'm not 100% sure. I assume that's like Tenpenny. I mean, like, given its megaton and its significance to the southwest, that feels like that should be Tenpenny Tower, but I'm not 100% sure because it's not called Tenpenny Tower. And it seems to be a tower that's like fallen over. Don't worry about the tokens. We'll explain them as we go along here. But basically, yeah, there's Project Purity down there. There's the mole. The game actually comes with like multiple different scenarios you can actually play. There's like, there's this Fallout 3 one, there's a Fallout 4 one in the Commonwealth, there's a Far Harbor DLC one for Fallout 4, and there's also the Pit, which is really kind of interesting for Fallout 3 as well. So, we won't be covering those, we'll just be looking at Fallout 3 today. First thing we need to do, Claire, is we need to go and pick ourselves characters. So you play 5 characters, and there are the models over there at the very rear over here. So we need to pick ourselves a character, each of which starts off with some unique special traits, and then I'll introduce how the character building in this game works. So, Claire, I think you already had an idea what you wanted to do in this game.
Yes, I wanted to play the Brotherhood Outcast, who has a great armor. The Brotherhood Outcast starts with the T45 power armor, and it's got a, like, 2 armor protection, so you do take a movement penalty when you move. You can't move as much, but you get protected in fights, which is quite important. Right,
so we'll get into how armor works when we actually get into a fight. Pop him over there next to your character card then. Draw your lovely Brotherhood Outcast. There he is. So pop him down next to his starting position, because everyone starts up by Crossroad Camp. So Brotherhood Outcast just starts over there. And because Claire is the Brotherhood Outcast, you start off with special. Basically, this game is kind of about building up your special deck and leveling up and getting more special as time goes on. Brotherhood Outcast, because you've got to, like, I don't know, maintain your armor or whatever, starts off fundamentally with intelligence. So Claire, hold that up for us there. So yeah, you start off with the little Brotherhood Outcast symbol is on the back of that piece. So Claire starts off with intelligence. So Claire just pops that into her special board at this point.
Yeah, that totally does.
Right now, Claire is intelligent, but does not have anything else going on yet. We'll get onto that in a second. I will now actually probably pick my one. I'm kind of interested in this round, by the way. The Vault Dweller is kind of interesting. The Vault Dweller starts off with a tiny bit of armor, because the Vault Dweller gets the Vault Suit, which is really good. The Wasteland is the only person that starts with a weapon. A weapon she can't use, which is kind of interesting. So you've kind of got to level up a bit to actually use the weapon. Super Mutants and the Ghouls are kind of the wild cards, to my mind, because they both react instantly to radiation. You'll see there's, like, various spots on the map that have, like, radiation. It's all the spaces that are surrounded by green. The Ghoul basically is completely immune to radiation. In fact, is actually healed by it. The Super Mutant still takes rad damage, which is kind of odd, but never mind, it's a game thing. But actually gains XP from being inside rads, though you do still suffer rad damage being inside a rad. So, Super Mutant's kind of an interesting one. I think I'm going to go for... I will settle for the Wastelander. The Wastelander is... I can think she's kind of like a raider, given she does basically start off with a tire iron weapon. So I'll kind of take that, and that means immediately I get a bit of actual, an actual weapon to put in my weapon slot. I believe, Claire, that your armor goes straight in your armor slots. That is technically armor.
Sorry.
Because, yeah, in your character card, we've got ourselves a slot for armor, a slot for a weapon, a slot for a companion, and then basically just a hand for anything else that shows up. So, Claire, could you just kindly pop my character onto the other starting space next to yours? Thank you very much indeed. And my character, in fact, you can tell that's mine because it's got that on the back, has agility. So she starts off with an agility point. Now you may notice that, the actual tire iron weapon is indicated there with having strength. So she needs to pick up strength in her special as soon as possible. So this is where luck starts coming into it, because special is a little bit randomized in this game. Sure, you get one thing automatically. We now pick one special at random. We're going to start off with two special things. So like rather than special having like a level in this game, for each special attribute, you're either special or you're not. So in this case, I am agile, Claire is not, Claire is intelligent, I am not. And now we pick a random extra one off this pile over on the left there. So Claire, would you like to pick your first special randomized attribute?
I have charisma.
So you are a charismatic, intelligent Brotherhood Outcast, is where you're starting off. And I am really hoping this is strength, by the way. It would be great if this is strength. No, it's intelligent. So I am an intelligent, agile, technically wastelander, but I kind of feel like I'm basically a raider in all but name. So the only other thing we need to introduce now is the main quest that we're basically going to be playing along here. I like the way the quest system works in this game, because quests do actually kind of branch. They kind of branch. In fact, actually, there's various bits in this game that are almost New Vegas-y. I'll kind of explain that as we go along. But there's various bits in this game that are almost mechanically New Vegas-y, which is kind of interesting. So, the mountains around you shake suddenly, fire and rubble spewing violently into the sky. Eyes wide you watch as a fleet of vertibirds scrambles from its peak to clear the violent blast. The straggler of the group begins to emit a trail of smoke as the rest disappear over the eastern horizon, then abruptly drops out of sight with a dull explosion that echoes up from the capital wasteland. So, that is the beginning of the first quest of the game. Kind of, when we were setting up the game card specifically said, stage this quest numbered 044. Now, there's two ways that we can actually resolve this quest. We can either look for survivors, where we need to go and find the wreck being indicated, by the way, by this little quest marker over here in the top right. So we can literally go to the wreck and look for survivors, which will lead to various kind of things changing on the board and new quests coming into effect and what have you. Alternatively, we can say, screw that, we need to go and figure out what the hell just happened by going to Megaton right here in the actual middle and basically asking some questions around there, which will lead to, again, different quests actually popping up, different rewards, etc. So that's basically the quest that we're actually starting off with right now. So we're basically need to be figuring out, where are we going? Are we going to the wreck or are we going to Megaton? Now, before we actually begin as well, there's one more thing we need to do. I'm just going to move the agenda deck down here. Basically, Claire and I need to secretly figure out what's actually going on in the actual wider world in terms of what our victory conditions are. We'll pick up these as we kind of go along here, but now Claire and I are going to secretly figure out what the first of our agendas is. Now, these are secret, so we can't actually see those, so we keep them hidden for each other. But I'm just going to turn away now. Claire, show your secret agenda. And this one here, which Claire cannot currently see, is mine. And I'll put a little bit of text on screen right now, also explaining what both of those mean, just in case. So that's pretty much all of the setup done, good enough for the time being. You'll probably notice there's a whole bunch of other tokens and whatever around the edge of the board. We'll explain those as they actually become relevant. So the way the game basically flows is as follows, which is each character in their turn can do 2 actions. For the time being, the only 2 actions that are relevant are moving, which basically means you can move between multiple different spots. So within each tile, there are multiple spaces, kind of separated out by the white lines there. So if I wanted to move, say, you know, just kind of dirt and dirt, that would be pointless. I could just go, you know, around here. But, you know, just if I did, then I would be able to do 1 move action, which gives me 2 movement points right there. The other action is explore, which basically lets me uncover any one of these tiles. That's just one action. So obviously, as right now we can't actually go anywhere because you can only go into an explore tile, the first thing I'm going to do is do an exploration item, and I'm going to do that over there. So now we've opened up this new space right here, so now we can start moving into that space. However, that space has an enemy symbol on it, so we have to spawn in a new enemy onto the raider camp that has spawned over there. So Claire, they're closest to you, that's the tokens over there. So as it's a skull, grab a skull token and just flick that over to reveal what has just shown up there. So what's just shown up there is Raider Scum, an enemy who is level 1, and yes indeed is potentially going to cause trouble for us at some point or another. Do I want to go and take him on immediately? I might head in that direction, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So I'm going to use my second action right now to basically do a move and then another move. So I'm going to take my character and I'm going to move them one space here and then one space into the raider camp. Now we're kind of assuming, like the game seems to just basically assume every character is like fairly stealthy or diplomatic or whatever, because just because I move into the same space as a character doesn't mean I fight them automatically. There are conditions where that will happen, but this raider is not one of them. So me and this kind of raider scum right now, we're just chilling out, which kind of reinforces my view that I am myself also basically a raider in all but name. So that's the end of my turn, having done 2 move actions, and now we move over to Claire instead.
So I am going to explore the tile that is a little bit down from my character because, as I said earlier, I don't have as many movement points because my armor is too heavy, I guess. So I found the Super Duper Mart and I'm going to go there with my 1 movement point.
Don't forget to actually lay a new enemy down there first because it might be an enemy you have to fight.
Yes, of course.
So we have to lay an enemy out there as well.
The Regulator, and he is not aggressive. I don't have to fight him immediately if I go into this tile. So that is what I'm going to do.
Bear in mind, though, we'll get into exactly how combat works in a minute, but because of that little 2 written on his tile, he's a little bit more dangerous. But with Claire's armour, she should be able to handle that without too much difficulty, hopefully. So, in that case, that is now this round over. I'm just going to quickly neaten up the board a little bit. I like the hexes being all kind of, you know, tightly squished in together and whatnot. That's just lovely. Now that the round is over, however, the enemies basically get their turn. They get to move between rounds. So what we do now is we use the agenda deck, which also kind of doubles up as the way we figure out how enemies move, and we simply take one of these cards and we turn it over. Now, this basically tells us which classes of enemies do or don't move. So any enemy that is a shield would now move basically towards the nearest one of me and Claire, but there is no one who is a shield on the board. The shield, by the way, is representing the Enclave in this setup, whereas the star, who have started down next to the tower, represents the Brotherhood of Steel. Again, I'm not sure why a Brotherhood Knight kind of spawns in what appears to be Tenpenny Tower, but that's just sort of what happens. So, yes indeed, now none of them move. The dangerous guys, marked with the Deathclaw symbol, though they're not actually always Deathclaws, do get to start moving. So this really nasty guy, basically anyone who is the Deathclaw symbol is super dangerous. So the glowing one starts moving in our direction. He just kind of moves vaguely across the board towards us. And finally, robots move, but there are no robots on the board, so that's absolutely all that happens there. So now we are straight over to the next actual turn. So this is where things get a little bit more on the interesting side, because now we actually move on to another action that you can do, which is understandably fight. If an enemy happens to be aggressive, actually that's the symbol there on that glowing one, the little kind of lightning bolt going up. That basically means an enemy is aggressive. So if you move into the same space as them, they will attack you automatically. If an enemy is not aggressive, you need to use a fight action to basically engage them in combat. Because right now I'm just kind of sneaking around the outside of the raider camp or whatever. Now I'm basically just saying, screw it, I'm going to take you on right now. So now we need to show how combat works. Basically, pretty much everything in this game revolves around these 3 dice right here. These dice are the important things. When we do skill checks, because yeah, there's a load of skill checks in this game. Again, sort of New Vegas here. A lot of stuff is resolved by skill checks. So we will basically do skill checks with these dice, and we also fight with these dice too. So I need to take on this here Raider Scum. So, the thing about this Raider Scum is he is level 1, because the 1 is written on the little vault door there, And what the little kind of the VAT symbol represents is those are his vulnerabilities. So I've basically got to roll the dice in such a way as either the head or the torso show up for this here Raider scum. He's got a gun symbol, which means that if he were to become active and move around, and like, you know, the agenda card told him to become aggressive and start moving towards us, if he was on the space adjacent to us, he would have opened fire, and that would have been to his advantage, because he's got a gun, and apparently we don't. And he's also got the little shield icon there, the shield icon meaning it basically takes one additional hit beyond what it should do to kill him. So because he's level 1, it takes 1 hit to kill him, but that's elevated to 2 because of the shield. So if I want to fight him, I basically have to roll these here dice, and you can see that these dice have various little body parts on them. The other thing that they have are the little kind of star symbols. The star symbol represents how many times he's going to hit me back, because the enemy gets to attack you before you get to attack them. The enemy always gets the first hit in. So as a result, say this side is a really useful side. It means you basically get hit on everything but the head. I suppose that kind of is supposed to like represent you charging forward to point blank range. You can hit him more or less everywhere, but you leave yourself wide open at the same time, I guess is what that means. The torso is relatively easy to hit. It shows up on like 3 of the 6 sides. The head is the difficult one. That only shows up on 1 of the 6. So headshots are the most difficult to do, which seems somehow appropriate. So what I'm going to do now is basically just do a roll, and we'll see what actually shows up here, and we'll just see how I do. So roll these 3 dice. And that looks like that's actually worked out pretty nicely for me. I have got myself 1 torso shot there in the middle where I don't get hit back, 1 torso shot where I do get hit back, and 1 headshot where I do get hit back. So I'm pretty happy with that, all things considered. I would be able to use my weapon to give myself a bit of an advantage if I wanted to, but I'm pretty happy with how those dice have come down, so I'm willing to accept that roll right there, and instead we just figure out what the result is. So basically, because he took 2 hits, in fact actually he took 3 hits, so that's more than enough to kill him, because he's level 1, plus the additional 1 point that he gets in hit points from the shielded icon, so as a result, he is now deemed to be dead. So Claire, could you kindly just remove him off the board? So he's removed off the board, and now we need to put a new inactive enemy in his place that will basically potentially wake up later. So Claire, if you could kindly just pop down a new little skull icon over there. So basically that's just a raider in waiting that will show up down the line, but that raider camp has now been cleared out. The other 2 things that happened during that fight, if I just kind of zoom in slightly now on my own special card, I love the way the health works in this game, by the way. Basically, the way health works is it's a very good rendering of how it works in Fallout 4. Over here on the left, we've got my rad counter. Over here on the right, we've got my health counter. As I take damage, health moves down. As I go through irradiated areas, or otherwise take rads from, like, you know, fighting irradiated enemies, like this glowing one, or there's various quests that might give me radiation, my rads move up. If these 2 ever meet, whether it's because the rads snuck up but I never took any damage, or because I took loads of damage but I never took any rads, wherever those 2 meet, you die and have to go back to the beginning and lose like a bunch of good items and whatever. So death is not the end of the game, you just go back to the beginning and lose a bunch of stuff. But it's a really elegant system, and it very accurately recreates the system in Fallout 4. I need to lose 2 hit points because I actually took 2 hits from that there guy. Now, had Claire been doing that fight, because you've got a bit of armor, you wouldn't have actually taken any damage from that whatsoever, which is kind of cool. So I've taken a bit of damage from him. I also gained some XP for killing that guy. He was level 1, so I get 1 XP point. So the XP is represented by this grey token, which basically you move it underneath any special icon that you've actually got active at the minute. So as you level up and gain more special icons, actually leveling up slows down, which again fairly accurately represents how it works in Fallout, which is really quite elegant all things considered. So I'm now a third of the way to a level up, because I've got to get another XP to get up to A, and then the final XP to move it back to the beginning, and when it moves back to the beginning of the track, I have leveled up, and then I can get myself some new specials going on, which will be very, very useful indeed. So that was my first action of my turn. I've actually fought that guy, and that's basically how fighting works. But you can see if you kind of look down here, say, at this glowing one, he's level 2 and only headshots count against him, which is kind of dangerous, because you've got to finish them off in one go. If you do like half their damage, then the next time you fight them, their health is reset. They're deemed to have like regenerated between turns, so you've got to finish them off in one go. So basically for the glowing one, you've got to roll the equivalent of 2 6s with 3 dice. So that's where you start needing, you know, lots of special and rerolls. And this game's basically about slowly improving your character so you have more rerolls. Broadly, that's kind of how you're leveling up, because you just want as many rerolls as possible, because everything, every fight and every single skill test is decided by these 3 dice. So re-rolling them, that's the important thing right there. So my second action for this turn is going to be another new one. There's like, I think, like, basically, there's not that many actions, so we've already introduced the majority of them, actually. The second action I'm going to do, now that the enemy's out the way, I'm allowed to basically start looting, because you can't loot while there's enemies present. You've got to clear out the enemies first. So basically, I'm going to do the equivalent of a loot, if you like, which is the encounter action. There's 2 types of encounter action. Basically, if you've got this symbol up here, the ruin, same as is over here in the mole, for example, or Project Purity, basically I can do an encounter where I'll draw an encounter from the actual kind of the looting ruins kind of deck. Or if you're in a city, like Megaton, you can do an encounter where you basically get a generally much more safe and often kind of boils down to would you like to go shopping encounter in a town that tend to be a whole lot more safer. So I'm going to do an encounter, but the encounters are also cool and have branching things. So I don't actually read my own encounter. Instead, I give this ruin encounter card over to Claire, and she is the one that reads out the encounter for us, and then I basically just try and figure out how I'm going to deal with it, because there's a very real chance that actually I might actually fail the encounter, for example.
As you pick through the ruins, you spot a figure on the ground. As you approach, you see that it's a dead man. He has no weapons or gear. What was he doing out here? So your options are, first, investigate the corpse, there are no checks. Or second, ignore the corpse and search. Your check is on perception and endurance, and you've got to roll a 4.
Okay, so the fact that Claire's just told me I've got a check on perception and endurance of 4 basically means I need to roll these dice, and now that I'm actually in a skill check environment, what we're doing is we're simply counting up the number of little kind of stars or hits on each of the dice. Because the sides are 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and 2, the average roll for when you're rolling 3 dice is going to be basically 2.5. The average roll is going to be about 2.5. So if I've got no re-rolls, that's what I'm basically going to get. So a 4 is relatively unlikely. The check on endurance and charisma basically means if I had endurance inside my special deck, then I would be allowed to basically re-roll as many dice as I wanted. So I could basically, you know, set aside this one because this is a good result, and then just say I'm just going to re-roll these 2. As my endurance reroll, and then like this one might show up like a 1, and then I'd say, okay, so now for my charisma reroll, I'm just going to reroll this 1, and oh my goodness, it came down as 1, so I've won. However, right now I don't have endurance or charisma.
Perception or endurance.
Okay, I don't have those either, because I don't listen to what Claire says. I don't have perception or endurance, unfortunately. So my chance of succeeding is pretty low, and if I hit the fail condition, there might be bad things, like, you know, you're disturbed by a raider and have to fight him or something. So I don't really necessarily want that. So as it's safer, I am just going to investigate the corpse, because if I'm lucky, there might be something on his body anyway. Go for it, Claire.
On the corpse, you found a filthy, folded photograph of a man geared for war, standing next to a small boy and girl. You can make out bits of a note next to a drawing of a bird. I am going east to my greatest regret, you and Margaret. Maybe Margaret is still alive? You get 1 loot, 3 XP, and we add the quest 005.
Okay, this is going very, very nicely indeed. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to take a loot card, because I get some loot out of that quest, so I get my first item. And my item is, it's just basic junk. Basically, I need to collect 2 junk in my hand, and then I can basically discard those to pick what I would like out of either the shop or from the discard piles. So that's actually pretty powerful. So I'm going to pop that into my hand right now in my little just kind of handy area, and I've got a hand limit of 3 over there unless I've got a special reason to have a hand limit higher than that. So that junk just lives over there. Next up, and this is actually really powerful, I get 3 XP for that when there's no check. That's really good. So basically my XP goes up by 1 to agility, and then it goes 2 back round. So I've now leveled up, and I've now become level 2. When you level up, I basically pick 2 special tokens at random, and I pick one of my choosing to keep. So I'm just going to pick a couple of these, 1 and this one. Feel good about these. And that has come up with perception and charisma. Now I was hoping for strength, because I've got strength as my weapon, so strength would have been good. what do I want here? Perception generally works pretty well with guns. There's like various guns that use perception as well as agility. So when eventually, hopefully, I do get a gun, like actually perfectly right there, there's the flipping sniper rifle that uses both P and A. So basically that would mean during a fight I could re-roll once if I have P and another time if I have A. So if I could get hold of that sniper rifle at some point, then that would work very, very nicely indeed, because then I've already got a character that's well set up for that. So that is, hang on, we also need to...
You need a third XP.
We need a... Oh, yes, I need a third XP. Thank you for reminding me. So I didn't do it immediately because obviously now it moves over to the P. So I don't go over to the I. So now I'm just 3 XP off leveling up a second time. So that's actually a pretty good start for me. And then finally, which card did we need to add?
005.
And that was an add, not a stage.
That was an add, yes.
Fine. If the card then had said stage, that would mean a new quest appeared down here, and then a second quest along with Welcome to the Capital Wasteland would simultaneously be running. As it says add, basically that means that now gets added to the encounter deck. So let me just dig out card 005. It is over here. This is the card library. They're all numbered. So, card 5. I've picked that out and not read it. And basically that is a town encounter. Because I'm adding that, basically I take that card and then I take the top 2 town encounters.
Because there are 2 players.
Because there are 2 players. And now we just shuffle these at random and just completely lose what's where and no idea what's where and diddly diddly dee and all of that. And probably some of you who are really good at counter cards will know where it is, but I don't. So that's good.
No.
So now that is laid down over here. So at some point now, either me or Claire, when we do an encounter in a city, will come across that and there's a new sort of like mini quest, like an unmarked sub-quest is now going to happen in a town. I know it's a bit odd because like if I find that photograph, Claire could go into town and draw that right now, even though Claire doesn't have the photograph and has no way of knowing about the photograph. But I guess we just assume like word spreads, like I told people that I'd found this weird photograph and the story spread or something. I don't know. But sometimes it just kind of works a little bit weird like that. Still, I cleared out that raider for 1 XP and then I did that encounter. And I believe that encounter also now goes back to the bottom of the deck.
Yes, it does.
In fact, actually so does the token, because the enemy now goes to the bottom of the deck that I killed. And that encounter also goes to the bottom of the encounter deck as well.
No, it says trash.
Oh, does it? Oh, because you can't repeat it because, sorry... normally it goes to the bottom of the deck, but that card specifically says trashed. Of course, you can't begin that quest a second time because it might already be running. That makes sense. Fine. So, that's the end of my turn. Claire, I'm guessing you might be doing some fighting too. Have you actually got a loot guy there?
Yes, I do.
Oh, Claire's lucky. Claire is lucky. Claire's guy has a gun, which would give him an advantage range, but he's not at range because we're at point blank range. But he's actually got a little loot symbol on him. So if Claire's able to kill that guy, then as a result, Claire can actually, get a free loot card just for killing him, which works out very nicely for her.
Yeah, and he's legs and torso, which is fairly common.
Yeah, torso's easy to hit, yeah.
I might get more damage, but I do have a good armor, so that's fine.
Yeah, we can introduce how armor works, actually, for you doing this fight, which is useful. So Claire's going to do a roll now, but you've got no rerolls, I believe.
I don't have any rerolls.
So, Claire actually got, she got herself an arm hit, a head hit, and a leg hit. So unfortunately, his vulnerabilities were just to the legs and the torso, right?
That is correct.
And he has 2 hit points. So Claire's only hit him once, and thus he has failed to be killed, so he basically just stays on the board. And if she chooses to fight him again, then he will be back up to full health. However, because the fight happened, Claire still gets shot twice. Luckily, Claire is wearing power armor. So normally, if Claire didn't have that power armor, she'd have just taken 2 hits. But because the enemy's level 2, you take the hits, and then you multiply them by the enemy's level. So she would have just taken 4 hit points damage. Quite significant. That is a quarter of your entire health gone. Luckily, you've shown up wearing massive, great power armor, which turns out to have been a really, really sensible idea. Because the power armor, having a damage rating of 2, though actually, in all fairness, it's basically damage threshold. This game has damage threshold in it. That's back from New Vegas. This is basically just Fallout New Vegas, the board game, which is marvellous. Someone should totally just make a little kind of fanish. And yeah, Claire also just completely destroyed Kate with a dice roll there. Kate was completely taken out by the dice roll. So basically, you take the spots, then you deduct spots, not damage. We misplayed this. The first time we played it, we thought you took the hit, multiplied it by the enemy level, and then deducted the armor. No, we've double-checked the rules. It's very precise. The rules do specify this. You take the hit, then you deduct armor, then you multiply whatever's left by 2. So armor is really good. Armor's
So I've
really,
taken
really
no
good.
damage.
Yeah, you've taken 0 damage from that encounter. Even though you lost and basically got shot twice by a guy with a gun, you're just like, it just bounces off my arm or whatever. And
Bing.
yeah, pretty much. And I'm guessing you're going to try and fight him again because he's still holding loot.
Oh, yes.
And you want to presumably loot the super duper mart too.
I do.
Okay, so Claire, there's nothing against you doing a second fight action. You're allowed to do 2 fight actions. The only action you're not allowed to do twice in the same turn is encounter. So I can't just sit in the raider camp and encounter twice in a single turn, because that would be too good. So you can't do that. But you can fight twice. So Claire's basically decided, having taken no damage, she's going straight back in for another go.
If you looked like that guy, that's what you would do.
Fair enough. Claire's going back in. Even though she's holding a massive, great, like, minigun or Gatling laser, sadly, she's actually running in unarmed. She's basically just getting that gun and beating him over the head with it, because you've got no gun according to your character sheet. So you don't know how to use that thing. Possibly it's broken or out of ammo. Anyway, go for a roll, Claire. Let's see what we got here.
Let's punch him in the face. Oh, no, the face is bad. Let's punch him not in the face.
You've still
he's
got
dead
him,
now.
But you actually do take some damage on this occasion, unfortunately. Your armor's not good enough. Like, I think this one does represent Claire just ran up to him and punched him right in the face at point blank range, which I guess you have to do if you're punching anyway. That's, you know, that generally is how punching works. So Claire, because this guy was, what was it, legs and body?
Yeah, so he takes 2 hits.
Yeah,
right?
he takes 2 hits. So as a result, he takes his 2 damage and does indeed die. But unfortunately, Claire takes 4 hits in return because this one is a dangerous one. You get to deduct 2 of those thanks to your power armor, but you still take 2 hits, multiplied by 2 because he's level 2. So Claire still takes 4 hit points damage and reduces her token down to 12. So that guy can now be removed off the board, which is very, very good indeed. So we'll just move him off the board. He gets shuffled to the bottom of that deck, and a deactivated guy gets
Deactivated.
put. Yeah.
Deactivated Claire.
Yeah, there we are. So he's deactivated and he's hiding under there. So that camp is now safe. But because this is the end of Claire's turn, she has to fight twice. In theory, he might activate at the beginning of the next turn, and then someone will be back on that spot, which would be kind of irritating for Claire. But hopefully that doesn't happen. It just depends on which symbols show up at the bottom of the agenda card at the end of each go. And you have also killed a level 2 character, so
yes.
You get to gain some experience. And because he was level 2, you gain 2 XP, which is very, very useful indeed. So you're basically at the cusp of a new level 2. So right now, yeah, neither of us have any rerolls. The way rerolls would work is, yeah, like I've got this Tyron here, which has got S written on it. So if I had strength, I'd be allowed a free reroll then whenever I wanted to. I can also, if I wish to, exhaust my weapon. That basically means I can turn it sideways. Thereafter, I'm officially like, I don't have it, and I don't get the benefit from it anymore, until I actually unexhaust it. You unexhaust it by doing the camp action, which we haven't got to yet, but basically it's a way of regaining a tiny bit of health and unexhausting any of your items. So basically, if you're in trouble, it's a good thing to do. Anyway, that's the end of that turn. We've done both the actions.
My loot!
Oh, sorry. Claire does indeed get a loot card because that raider had loot on him.
Ooh, and I get Astoundingly Awesome Tales. It's a magazine, so when I camp, if I don't have luck, I can discard this to gain a couple of XP.
Excellent. So that's actually very useful for you, because then basically if you do a camp action, you'll get pretty much all your health back. So I think it's 3 hit points back for a camp action.
Yeah.
Is it 3? I think it's 3. So she go back up to almost full health for that, and also simultaneously discard that for 2 XP, which would push you up into level 2 and get you an extra special point. That's pretty much like the most important thing at the beginning of the game. You want to just kind of win a couple of encounters, do a bit of looting, get a bit of stuff in your hand. If you're really lucky, you wouldn't have drawn like junk or stuff in the hand. Like we might have come across some armor or some weapons, which you can absolutely do. But for the moment, like our priority is get some good stuff going on. So is that actually the end of the turn? Sorry if I robbed you of anything else, or is that it now?
No, that's it now.
Now, time to see whether another raider's about to immediately activate, because now it's the enemy's turn to move.
And they do.
They actually do. And the other thing that happens when you turn over a card that shows a symbol is if an enemy was previously kind of inactive, like they've been killed and an active one has spawned in, now, however, that enemy actually respawns. So now, Claire, could you kindly turn over both of those? So Claire has got something quite similar to what she just had there. A level 2 bounty hunter needs to be hit in the arms and the legs, but does have loot. There's another loot drop, so that's fine. You might be able to get yourself a new loot card. That's not the worst thing in the world. I've got a Raider's Psycho, can be hit in the chest or the legs. Level 2 on this occasion, so a bit easier for me to take care of. Also has loot. However, interesting thing about him is, because he's level 2, and I don't have Claire's armor to protect me, if I were to have the same roll Claire just had down here, I'd have taken 8 damage from that, and I've got no way of... Actually, I can exhaust my tire iron to get a reroll, so I could have got rid of one of these, but it's still probably a little bit too dangerous for me at this point in the game. So
he's aggressive. You don't have a choice.
No. Yes, I do. When enemies turn over or are brought onto the board for the first time, aggressive does not start a fight. We checked this in the rules.
I always forget about this.
Yeah. Basically, because he's got the lightning bolt, aggressive means he would cause trouble with me immediately. However, if I kind of move out that space and move back in, then he'll attack me. But enemies that are spawned in do not actually attack you immediately. We did check this in the rules. So that's all of that taken care of. Oh no, sorry. Dangerous also moves. So the glowing one is now going to start moving across the map extremely fast in our direction at this point, because now he can basically cross this territory in a single turn a go. So that's gonna start being interesting pretty soon, because that guy messed you up badly in one of our test games. Yeah, didn't
He's
he?
really, really bad.
He's really mean, because getting those headshots guaranteed when you've got limited rerolls is not fun at all. So play moves back to me, and now the game kind of speeds up a bit, because I think we've covered the basics at this point. So, first things first, I need to figure out whether I'm going to fight this guy who's spawned into this space with me. Because, I do have a reroll. I have a reroll on my tire iron. So I could decide to exhaust that to gain one reroll, but then I'd need to camp. But then if I take a hit, I'll need to camp anyway at some point. So potentially killing him just for one loot. 2 XP doesn't even get me a level. No, I'm going to pass him, actually. What I'm going to do instead is I am going to move my character 1 here, and then I'm going to do an explore action to this space over here. And this is...
Ooh.
This is a very interesting little space. I like this one. This is why this game's got good replayability, by the way, because basically you always use pretty much all of these here tiles, but the different order and orientation they show in makes a big difference. So, for example, the red things here, that basically means difficult terrain. So you can cross that, but it needs 2 movement points to do, not just 1. So as a result of that, like if, for example, some red goes next to some red, so if this is spawned the other way, actually it can't spawn the other way around, but if this is spawned, like, say, down over here, for example, that might have made a really difficult little kind of series of rocks, creating a barrier between kind of Megaton and this side of the map. But on this occasion, this has formed a nice little path for me to actually go along right here. So I can go onto this highway, which leads me really quickly in this direction. So I'm just going to use my little kind of, my chopsticks to move my character, her additional move point. Move is actually the only thing you're allowed to split up, by the way. I did a move action, so I gained 2 movement points. I can move once, do another thing, and move again. That is definitely correct according to the rules. So I can move my character over in this direction, and now I'm just sitting on this nice, safe little highway here. So that is going to be the end of my turn. That's all I'm doing. I've decided to leave that raider alone. So Claire, over to you.
Well, I'm not good at leaving bad guys alone, I'm afraid. I quite like doing the fight actions, so I'm going to take on this guy.
Are you 100% sure? Because with no rerolls, arms and legs are not the easiest things to hit. It's torso that's easy to hit. Arms and legs are difficult, and you need to get 2 hits in.
Yes, I know, and I probably won't make it, but I can't really use the super duper mart or do anything if I don't do that, and I don't have as many movement points as you, so if I didn't fight him, I would end up on this spot next time, and that means he could shoot me because he has range.
I assume we mentioned, by the way, Claire can choose to pay a cap at the beginning of her turn, or rather when she does a move action to move 2 rather than 1. I would suggest an alternative might be, you might want to move, hang on, from here, you could move 1, 2 into the space I was just on. The Raider Cycle will attack you automatically, he's aggressive. Chest is easier to hit, he also carries loot, and then you'll be in the Raider Camp. And the Raider Camp is level 3 rather than level 2, meaning the loot you'll get out of it might well be better.
That's a fair point. I was going on the assumption that I was going to go down to the more dangerous bit to fight more dangerous enemies because I can't move as far. I can't rush to the quests. So I kind of assumed that, but it's not a bad idea to try and get some loot up front. So I'm going to actually do that.
Excellent.
So I'm going to pay 1 cap to do a double move.
Okay, I'll put that over in the bank for you over there. So Claire's basically just, paid for the maintenance of her armour, moved 1 and then 2 and into the camp. Now in this case, because she's chosen to move into the square of an enemy that's got the little lightning bolt marking it as dangerous, the enemy decided he's going to attack her immediately. So Claire gets pulled into a fight without having to waste a fight action, which is quite useful for you.
Yes, so I'm going to try and hit him in the legs and the chest, which didn't work out so well for me last time, so let's have a look-see.
Chest should be doable.
Ooh, there we go.
You're not... In fact, actually, that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
That's literally the perfect result. You've hit him twice in the legs without taking any damage in return, and also the bad one. But with your armour to cancel out both of those spots, he goes down and you take no damage in return.
Excellent.
That has worked out very nicely. So simply clear him out of the way to the bottom of the pile, lay a new inactive guy on top there. Marvellous. You get yourself 2 XP and level up from that. So first XP goes in, and now Claire draws 2 special tokens at random.
I have intelligence or charisma. Ha!
Excellent. So what happens if Claire basically draws 2 that she has already got is she chooses to keep one of those and she gets a relevant perk from the perk deck. The perks are extremely flipping powerful, use once and burn abilities. So, is it going to be a charisma perk or intelligence perk, Claire?
Well, we've already seen a few perks in our earlier playthrough, and there are some really, really good ones.
Yeah, really good.
So I think the intelligence one had the one where you can like directly get another level or something.
I'm not sure whether you're really supposed to know what these are ahead of time, but just for the sake of people knowing, I'm just going to read these out because some of these are really powerful. If you're going for intelligence, you could have Swift Learner, where you can basically discard to level up immediately. So you draw 2 fresh actual tokens, but you basically get to keep both of them or swap them out for further perks, but you can't use it to get Swift Learner again, otherwise you'd be able to keep doing that forever as long as you happen to be drawing intelligence. Or Gun Nut, discard at an actual, any settlement in order to gain a weapon item from the shop. Or discard, alternatively over in, the Charisma? Yep, the Charisma perks are as follows. Master Trader, discard, and you can shop with as many items as you want, buying and selling as much as you want, no matter where you are. Or Inspirational, discard to remove a companion from another player's inventory or from the shop, add to your inventory, and you also get to unexhaust all of your companions for free wherever you are as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely going for Swift Learner.
It's got to be Swift Learner. It's just so damn good for building your character. So, Claire takes Swift Learner and probably uses it straight away, to be honest.
Yeah,
she burns that immediately. Fine. So, Claire, as a result, returns those other things back over there. We put the perk deck down. And Claire now basically selects 2 new things, and...
we've got luck or luck.
So, Claire basically gets to keep the luck and gets one of the luck perks.
That means I don't get to use the magazine.
Well, in all fairness, I think it's worth it. So, you're...
Oh yeah, because I get to keep both, so I get a perk. So
yes, you get a perk. So, you can either have Fortune Finder, discard immediately for 8 caps.
Yes.
Alternatively, Grim Reaper's Sprint. Until the end of your turn, perform 1 additional action after each fight in which you kill an enemy.
Take the money.
I would agree. I think Grim Reaper's Sprint would be very powerful if there was a whole cluster of enemies together. So are you going to immediately discard that for 8 caps?
Yes, because that way I get to move normally.
Exactly. So Claire's basically going to use the perk deck and that extra perk to basically just move around normally. So I'm going to give Claire 8 caps.
And I had, I believe, 1 more point of XP from that first fight.
Yes, you did indeed. So Claire is now swimming in caps there, the blue cap representing 5, of course. So Claire is now basically allowed to move pretty freely. So that's worked out really well for you.
This guy had loot as well.
You did draw a loot card. And your extra loot is...
Ooh, the combat knife.
Excellent.
So I don't have agility, which is what it gives you rerolls on.
But it is a double reroll, which is really nice. If you can get agility on your special board, you get to reroll twice during every fight. Albeit there is a risk that you'll take damage to yourself, thanks to the leg icon there.
Yeah, so if you use these specific legs to win a fight, like I did here, you take a damage. So yeah.
So
it's pretty good though, so I'm going to equip it because I don't have other weapons right now.
Yeah, so Claire's now got a good armour and a decent weapon. So Claire's off to a good starting point there. She's looking good. And now with that money, she can basically spend that money to move freely. So Claire's suddenly looking in really, really good shape.
And I've got 1 more action.
And you've got an additional... No, you don't. You've How?
No, I moved.
Yeah, moved twice, then did... he was
twice.
aggressive.
He was aggressive, and now I get an action.
Fine.
I am going to explore the raider camp.
Okay, exploring a raider camp, so I'm going to read Claire an encounter here. So, a few scavengers have gathered their findings and placed them as bets. The first to make it to the far side of the complex and back wins. Claire's options are, she can join the race, in which case she has to roll 6, but has a reroll on all 7 specials. So she'd have 3 rerolls to try and get to what's basically the equivalent of rolling 18 with 3 standard dice. So that's questionable.
That's tricky.
Yeah. Alternatively, she can train on the course after they're done, and that basically there's no skill check attached to that, or hold back and take their stuff.
I'm gonna train on the course after they're done, I think.
You don't want to risk anything, but the practice after they're done teaches you a few things. Help yourself to 2 XP and 1 loot.
Ooh.
Had she stolen their stuff, there would have been negative consequences, but she would have got a lot more loot out of that one. But she still manages to get 1 loot card, which is...
Buff out. It's drugs.
Excellent. Claire's picked up the first drugs of the game. Drugs are basically a way of giving yourself relevant rerolls, but you have to do an endurance check after you're done, otherwise you might become addicted, and that's bad.
Yeah, and this is a test or a fight using strength or endurance, which I don't have, so these are not rerolls I can actually use at the minute.
Yeah, exactly. And was that the end of your turn?
Yeah, I believe so.
Fine, let's just move the enemies around super quickly if we can then. So, the enemies that are on the move are... it turns out the actual Brotherhood of Steel is on the move, and will start moving towards us over there. Also, it's the skulls again, they just love it. So this guy's going to start moving towards you.
And he has a gun.
But he can't attack you immediately, he needs to be in adjacent space to you when he activates. So if you stay there next turn, he would cause that to he would actually fire on you at that point. And also, this card also turns over. So that's a nice, simple level 1 guy, and he does not have loot, he's got the shield instead. And also, mutants start moving. The mutants move. So the mutant moves, I'm going to be closer to the mutant, so he's going to move onto this generic space and start heading in our direction. So we're at this point being hunted down by glowing ones and super mutant skirmishers. So the enemies are starting to close in on us a little bit here, and that does happen over time. Back over to me, and probably, as you probably guessed, now that I've got that nice convenient highway that brings me straight over towards here, I'm basically going to try and find the wreck of the vertibird, which spawns is indicated by this quest marker. So first up, I'm going to do a little bit of an explore action around here. So I'm going to overturn this, and ooh, interesting, there's going to be rads in the way. There are going to be rads in the way, tragically. And by the way it works is if you uncover a space where there's something like on the top of it, whether it be a quest marker or an enemy, you get to decide where it actually is after that point. So, unfortunately, just because of the way it is, there's now a massive, great blob of radiation in my way, so I'm going to have to take some rads. And also, Claire, we're going to need ourselves a buggy bug. Is going to spawn in over there. That is a Stingwing level 2, but fortunately the Stingwing doesn't have like aggressive or anything, so it's going to be a while before he causes any trouble for anyone. Regardless though, probably I'm just going to put it here. So that was my explore action. Although actually no, I could...
If you put it in a settlement, then you can do 1-2 moves, and then I'm
actually in a settlement in case I need the settlement. You're right, that's much cleverer. So I've decided that I'm sorry to Hoffman, whoever he is, but actually the vertibird literally crashed into your like little factory, which is sad for you. So as a result, I'm going to move my character 1 and 2 into the relative safety of Hoffman's farm, and as a result of that, that should be my turn. But I need to actually remember to increase my rads up to 1. So I've now gone up a rad. It's very difficult to shake rads. The item of Radaway will show up in the shop occasionally, but not that often. So
I think I've definitely seen 2. I don't know if there are more than 2 in
yeah,
the entire...
in quite a big deck. There also might be some in loot. I don't know. There might be an anti-rad item in loot if we're lucky. I'm not sure. I've not seen one, but loot has got quite a big deck, so there might be. So that's the end of my turn. Over to Claire.
I wanted to do another exploring.
They just keep spawning in, don't they? They just keep spawning in, and that guy won't even give you loot if you kill him.
So I think what I'm going to do is try and leave them behind. So I think I'm going to spend 1 cap.
Okay, over to the
to do
bank.
a normal moves this turn. This guy, he's on this square, right?
Yeah, he's on that square.
Okay.
And the problem is, because you've got the red there, that's difficult terrain, so you can't just cut over straight over that. Even with the cap spent, you can only move to that square.
Yeah.
But you could actually just do a straight move action there. You'd be safe from him, and then you could do an explore action to figure out what's on the far side.
No, I wouldn't. I would be in... Both of them are ranged, and I would be the next tile over.
Isn't he on... Is he in that space?
No, he's
sorry,
in that space.
he's in that... Sorry, he's in that space. Fine. Sorry, I thought he was in this space. Right, so then you'd be in range of both of them. Yes, so that would be bad.
That would be quite bad, so...
Yeah, Claire's just stuck in Raider Central right now. Would you believe these Raider sorts don't like this whole Brotherhood thing?
I'm just going to try and escape as far as I can, and it might not work out for me, but, you know, you've just got to try, so I'm going to do...
You could do a double move to Super Duper Mart, then do a raid action there, because he's now moved off the Super Duper Mart.
It's adjacent, look.
It is adjacent, but at least then you get a raid. Yeah. At least you get a raid action in.
That is true. I was going to go down and explore, but then I'm a bit of a sitting duck, so...
Yeah, you might be better off doing an explore, you're right. It's kind of up to you in that case.
Yeah, I'm going to explore. I want to go down to the bottom of the map because I'm so tanky.
Yeah.
I think I'll be better off exploring down that
Fine.
way.
So you're going to do a double move in this sort of a direction.
1 and 2.
Yep, and she can walk straight past the bounty hunter because he's not aggressive, so it's fine to just walk straight through his square.
And I'm going to explore this here tile.
Okay, and she is heading to the south in a hurry. What have we got that's... Ooh, okay. It's another one of those tiles. Let's just quickly neaten up the board a little bit here. Claire's got a nice little route through, but we need a buggy bug.
It's alright, it's just a stingwing.
It's just another, just 2 really basic stingwings that could cause no problem at all. So that's absolutely fine. But she's also uncovered the first vault. Now, we can't do anything with that vault just yet. The vault has locked its doors. It's Vault 84. So nothing we can do about Vault 84 yet. But later in the game, Vault 84 might become quite important. So it's nice to see it in a fairly central location.
And quite early in the game.
Yeah, quite early in the game. So we've got a vault uncovered, which is very, very useful indeed. And is that the end of you? You've done 2 moves and explore?
That's right, yeah.
Fine. So it's time for the enemies to be on their way. And it is... Yes. Yeah, Claire is not going to be attacked by that bounty hunter because she was in an adjacent space. So had Skull shown up, because he's got a gun, he would have actually fired on her and had the advantage. So instead, it is the shields, of which there are none on the map right now. Robots, none on the map right now. And the bugs are on the move too. So that bug is presumably going to move 1 up towards you.
So it moves in my same space, but because it's not aggressive, it doesn't attack me right away.
Correct.
And same for you.
And this bug does the same thing. So that bug moved onto Hoffman's farm. So it's
quite crowded now.
It's a bit crowded in Hoffman's farm right now. Remember, that bug is there. So then we move over to... Yeah, we actually move over to the turn proper in that case. So, obviously, my main priority at the minute is, because you're not allowed to do any actions on a square that's got an actual creature on it, with the exception of move. You can move away, but you can't encounter anything. Actually, I will need to check the rules. I don't think you're allowed to do a quest action.
I think we checked that yesterday.
Yeah, I think we did. So you can't do any action other than just moving away from a non-hostile enemy. So I can't shop in that space, I can't encounter in that space, and I can't do anything with the crashed vertebrate. I've got to clear out the bug first. So I'm going to do a fight action immediately. The bug's not so bad. He's level 2, so I'll get 2 XP, which is welcome. He might do a bit of damage to me back, which is a shame, but with the fact that he's actually got torso and head as his vulnerability, torso is relatively easy to hit, and if need be, I can re-roll using my tire iron by exhausting it, even if I don't have strength yet. So, what do we have there? So, okay, I'm going to have to do that in that case, because torso and head, I would currently fail to do that. So, I'm going to take my tire iron, I'm going to exhaust it by turning it sideways. So right now my tire iron is basically broken until I camp. So instead I'm now going to... Yeah, I've tire ironed too hard. I've tire ironed too hard here. Now I basically just need... It's a 4 out of 6 chance on any of these dice. It's a 4 out of 6 on any of these dice that I will get the option here. So...
Oh, nice.
Worked out very nicely for me there. That's a lot less damage than you can take, because obviously getting 2 spots of damage on a 3 roll is actually, that's below average. So I'm happy with that. I get no armor, so I take the full brunt of that. So that's 2 damage. He's level 2, so multiplied by 2. So I go down from 14 down to 10. So I've taken a fair knock taking out that guy, because I don't have that lovely, lovely armor that Claire's got, which is a real, real shame. But he is in fact dead, so that's nice. So we'll just move him off the map and just kind of put him down to the bottom and replace him with an inactive bug for the time being. And I get myself 2 XP, win myself with 2 intelligence, and then agility. So next time I get any XP whatsoever, I'm going to level up from that. And speak of the flipping devil, I'm going to use my second action as a quest action. Basically, that's what that actual kind of little kind of marker on this quest card actually means. So I can look for survivors by performing quest action at the wreck or performing a quest action at Megaton. I was pretty confident I was going to be able to complete this first quest before Claire, because Claire had the problems with movement penalties. But as you can see, she's gained a lot from the fact that she can basically throw herself into fights a lot more than me. You've managed to get, you've got more loot than me. You've actually found a good weapon, whereas I've just got the weapon I started off with, and I've had to actually exhaust it to even get as far as I have. And until just a moment ago, with that bug there, you were ahead of me on the XP track as well. Plus, you've got more health than me as well, and you haven't had to take a point of rad. So Claire's got a bit of an early advantage thanks to her armor, but I'm kind of hoping that some of my advantages will come in useful too. Like, hopefully Claire's money, though actually that fortune finder's really helped you out too.
Yeah,
that's been a massive help to you. So, Welcome to the Capital Wasteland can now be completed by looking into the wreck. I'm going to assume we don't need that token anymore, but I'm going to leave it on the map here anyway, just in case it's referred to later in the game. There's no reason not for it to continue sitting there. So, as a result of looking for survivors, basically, we get our first motion going on the actual score tracker. The game ends when one of these two factions, where the star represents, the star is the Brotherhood of Steel, and the shield represents the Enclave, if either of them reach this space at the bottom, then basically the game ends. Claire and I don't win in that case, we basically lose. We need to win before that happens, or win by it happening. We'll kind of get into that as time goes by and we get closer to it. But Shield, the Enclave, just basically went up by 1 level. I assume to represent the fact that that was an Enclave vertibird, and we've just gone and potentially helped out some survivors. So the Enclave just gained a level that way. So, dear oh dear for the Enclave. The next thing is, the Enclave are starting to wake up. Claire, can you pass me a shield icon, please? So a shield icon representing an Enclave trooper has just spawned on to Project Purity. So Liam Neeson's dead. That just happens when the Enclave take Project Purity. They shoot Liam Neeson. He wasn't even there. He was just kind of, he was just chilling out in his trailer filming a new movie nearby, but the Enclave go and shoot him. They don't appreciate his work, to be honest. They think Qui-Gon Jinn didn't really have any personality, and Liam Neeson did a bad job with that. They also don't like Love Actually. The Enclave hate Love Actually, which is weird because it's a great film. Okay, the other things they get, the other things that happen as a result is I get to draw 2 loot tokens immediately. Now, I've been, I think, pretty lucky with that. I've just drawn 2 fistfuls of caps, so I can discard both of them immediately for 3 caps apiece. So I get 6 caps straight up. So that's actually a pretty damn good result for me, because that now brings me up to a total of 9 caps. So Claire and I are both pretty flush this game. That's pretty nice. So up to 9 caps on my side, but I think you've got 9 too?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you've got to spend yours faster than me for the movement thing, so I'm probably going to be in pretty good shape off the back of that. Next, we have got to add card 46 in the same way that we did last time. So I need to find card 46 in the card library. 46, don't look at it because we actually need that. So, there is now something good going to be hidden inside the ruin, because this is a ruin card. So now take that and take the top 2 ruin cards and just shuffle those around a little bit too and just mess all those up. So basically, if Claire and I start kind of scavenging through some ruins, at some point in the next 3 encounter ruin actions, there's going to be a special thing pertaining to the Enclave and a quest. But it might be good or it might be bad, because the Enclave are generally deemed to be the bad guys in these games. They don't generally, come across particularly well. So there we are. And also, don't forget, there's also a special encounter related to that photograph.
Yes.
Still present in there as well. So, and don't forget, this card needs to be... This gets trashed in a second, so this quest is over. But first, I need to stage 2 new quests, 45 and 101. But yeah, this is how quests work, because had we kind of resolved that differently, had we gone to Megaton, then basically something different would have happened. That's how we did it last time we played the Fallout 3 board. One of us made it to Megaton first. So we're getting new quests we haven't seen before, because the quests actually have proper quest progression. It changes the map. So, we've got 2 new quests now coming into play. The first new quest, National Treasures. Most of the crew has survived, hooray for the Enclave, but are injured, many severely. Unwilling to trust a stranger, they require proof of your loyalty. They disclose the location of some nearby caches in which there are supplies and protocols for this kind of situation. So that's going to be what we're looking for in the ruins. That's
yes,
what it's going to be.
course.
So, one solution to this quest is going to be locate the survival gear for the wounded. So we need to basically encounter in ruins until you locate the cache. That'll give you 3 XP and also stage 2 new quests, and that'll be the end of it. Alternatively, we can demand an explanation in exchange for the contents of the caches, which is exactly the same thing, except it stages... Actually, no, this is interesting. So, it's exactly the same thing. The actual quest that gets staged as a consequence are identical. It just changes who goes up or down a level.
Right, so you do the same thing, and the game progresses the same way, except we'd either move him down to be now 2 stages ahead, or we'd move the Brotherhood 1 stage up and actually have them tying. So this is the point where we might be able to start figuring out whose side someone's on, because one or both of us might have an agenda that basically says we get additional victory points, effectively, for one faction finishing the game significantly ahead of the other. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting, basically, indication of what's going on there. And the other quest... I'm not saying it was aliens, ... So, Brahmin have been disappearing from Hoffman Farm. I was just there. Vertibird fell out of the sky too. Stories have circulated about strange lights in the sky on nights of disappearances. But you know it's probably just a Deathclaw or another predator. Right? So, here's the 2 options we can actually do with that. We can basically go to Hoffman Farm and do a quest item there, and you also need to draw and fight against a generic skull enemy. So we'll draw an enemy out of the skull pile, and whatever it is, we just have to fight it. It gains the radiation icon. So basically, it will, whatever damage it does to you will also pass on a bit of... It's rad's equivalent to level, isn't it? We checked that. So it will give you rad's equivalent to whatever level it is if it lands any hit at all. Fine. So it's a so basically it's a radioactive raider is of some description, possibly standing in for an enemy. Do that and you get yourself a loot together with an influence, and it leads to, well, that leads to a presumably alien specific quest down the line. Alternatively, activate an old radio to monitor signals at night. That needs to be activated at the location HWY74, and I don't believe that's currently on the map. No, it is. It's the highway. It's right here.
Interesting.
You're very close to it.
Sorry, my mistake.
And that, all the cool quest stuff.
And that gets you endurance and intelligence, or rather, that gets you just influence, no loot, but you have to pass an endurance intelligence check of 3, which should be doable because I've got intelligence. But the thing is, if I do that, that presumably means we kind of prove... This way proves it wasn't aliens, and this way potentially... Also, this doesn't lead to any staging. No, sorry, it does. It leads to staging 104. So that possibly actually means that you... Wait, stage 104, place your figure on that card.
I have no idea what that is. I was just about to point it out to you.
I'm going to guess that means I get abducted by aliens.
Oh, that's so cool!
Shit! Yes, yeah, I'm going to go get myself abducted by aliens.
Well,
abducted by aliens. So basically, I can either disprove it's aliens, I can just prove it's just a radioactive radar, or I can go and get myself... I'm going to get myself abducted by aliens. I'm getting myself so anally probed. Claire, I'm so excited for this. This is the best news. I could either go over there and start basically desperately rolling ruins to try and get the stash for the Enclave, Or I could basically get myself abducted by aliens and anally probed. And I think we know which one I want to do.
yeah,
I think that's the end of my turn, by the way, because I had to fight the bug, then I had to do the quest action. So that's been discarded. Just make sure there's nothing else. Nope, that's fine. And then this card gets trashed. So Welcome to the Capital Wasteland card just lives off the board at the minute. That is now done. Over to Claire, who now, because obviously those quests aren't just for me, those quests are for everyone, Claire now potentially might want to change what she's doing to potentially try and find that Enclave gear.
No. I'm going to try and find it, but I'm going to try and find it somewhere in the unexplored board at the bottom there.
Okay. Now that you've actually got a weapon, yeah, if you can just get 1 more XP, you might have a good chance of getting that agility. And once you've got agility, a weapon with a double reroll on agility and armor, you'll be in good flipping shape.
Yeah, I can just go at people with my knife.
Pretty much, yeah. You're just kind of wearing power armor and then running at them screaming with a knife. You're kind of a real good blend of high-tech and low-tech here. Right, where are you going in that case?
Yeah, so I'm going to spend 1 cap on movement.
Okay, 1 cap on movement moves over to the bank, so Claire has 2 movement points.
And I'm going to go down this really nice long route.
Yeah, that is very convenient.
I assumed was a highway, but I guess it's not named, so it's not.
It's like I think it's probably because like this is difficult terrain. I'm guessing it's like a valley. I think you're in the base of a valley and those like mountains either side, if I had to guess.
Yeah, and obviously it's a interesting like block. Because you can't really go to Megaton.
Yeah, actually, there's a massive block to Megaton from this direction, isn't there? If you're down here, getting to Megaton's a bloody pain. Because there's, basically a difficult terrain surrounding it over there. That's really cool.
Also, I would like to know, if I don't spend money to get 2 moves, like to get a normal movement point,
yes,
does that mean I can't cross difficult terrain at all with my guy?
That is correct, because you need 2 movement points to cross difficult terrain. So, basically, your servos need oiling, otherwise you can't climb the side of the valley. Why do you just laugh like I just said something smutty?
I didn't. You chose to interpret that way.
That was your snigger. I heard your snigger. Right, which are you opening? You opening the difficult one?
I'm going to go the difficult one.
All right. So Claire is opening up something a bit
Pendleton
dangerous.
Estate.
The Pendleton Estate.
It has one of those guys on it.
Oh dear.
It has one of those guys on it.
You're going to start getting hunted.
It's a death claw.
Okay. Death
it's an aggressive death claw.
Death claw level 3 has to be hitting the arms. Not the worst thing in the world, but the problem is one of the actual sides of the dice that has the arms on it is the one that has 2 hits. You don't want to be double hit by a death claw. I'm not sure. Ooh, I'm beginning to have doubts about Claire's tactics here. I suspect this is going to go wrong.
Yeah, especially since I double spent for movement. So now, like, if I don't move near the death claw, I've like wasted my money.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, the thing is, the death claw's aggressive. So if Claire moves here and then death claw happens to come up in the next space here, then the death claw will just move over and basically shank Claire with its massive claws.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move backwards to where the bug is, so I can fight the bug maybe and get some XP and get my knife going.
You need that agility before you attack the death claw. Yeah, that's fair enough. So Claire's going back over here and is now basically hoping the bug's going to activate. So, is that the end of your turn? Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, that was a great turn.
Jaz's basic plan is basically, I'm going to go and explore the dangerous. There's a death claw. I'm going to go this other way instead. So long.
I think that's a sensible
plan. Well done,
plan.
Claire. Well done. Right, so you're in luck. The buggy bugs have activated. So, buggy bugs, my buggy bug reactivates, and you have to fight that buggy bug.
I'm also in range of a guy with a gun.
Okay, I read this in the rules, because yes, unfortunately, these guys have activated too. So this guy will move towards you. He'll move into this space, but can't attack you this turn. Claire is now under attack from 2 different guys simultaneously. In the event that happens, Claire, you get to choose in which order you fight them.
Oh, I see.
So Claire now has to take on a buggy bug, level 2 is it? And also a level 2 bounty hunter with a gun. Now because the bounty hunter is attacking her with a gun from 1 space over, he gets a free hit in against you. So basically whatever you roll in terms of the dots on the dice, you have to add 1 on for the fact that he's got range, because you're literally running up to him and punching him in the face, so he gets a free shot in while you're doing that charge.
Right, so the thing is he has loot, so what I've got to figure out is, do I want to fight the Stingwing first, which is a little easier and will get me a level if I murder it?
Yep.
And then hopefully I might get agility, I might be able to use my knife.
Yep.
Or do I want to fight the guy with loot first so that I may get something else good in loot? I'm going to fight the Stingwing first. I think that's the most sensible thing to do.
Alright, so Claire versus Stingwing. What is he? Torso and head?
Torso and head.
Torso and head. Claire needs torso and head rolls here, but right now has no re-rolls.
Oh, torso and head. There you go.
Torso and head. Claire's managed to do it, and
I only take one hit because of my cool armor.
he's level
but
2,
it is level 2,
so that counts for 2 hits. So Claire drops down from 12 to 10 hit points, but does also manage to gain 2 XP. So, yeah, just deal with that. So level up, and now draw 2 random things, and she's really hoping for agility.
Yes! Agility.
She gets the agility, so Claire's knife is now re-rolling like crazy. Shuffle the other one back in.
Yeah, and that's one more.
So Claire is right. She's not special. She's just Shull. Excellent.
Seems pretty good anyway.
That's pretty good. Claire's now with 4 out of 7 on special at this point in the game. Claire's in pretty good shape. So you can also drag that bug off the board and replace him. I'm pretty sure he was the bug from down on the valley.
That is
just
correct.
shuffle him back into the bug pile and put a new bug on there face down. And now you have to take on that guy. But this is now much easier because Claire now has a double reroll thanks to her combat knife.
I'm now bringing a knife to a gunfight. Quite literally.
I think you can get away with that when you're wearing power armor, though. I think that's actually one of the scenarios where that's actually acceptable. So Claire now goes for her initial roll, but now Claire is in very, very good shape.
So I'm going to obviously reroll that because that's a lot of damage, and I'm going to reroll the chest hit because it doesn't really help me, but I have a leg hit. Ooh.
So she's going to lock that one down. But if she does, she gets an extra hit in from the fact that her knife... I'm not sure quite... Why do you think the knife causes damage to yourself with a leg hit? It's because, like, you're bending down, so you leave yourself open to a counter-strike?
Yeah, or maybe... I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what that is, because can't think of anything
to
in the
balance
Fallout
it out,
universe.
I'm just going to reroll everything.
Because she's got 2 rerolls to go at this point.
Right, so I have a... No, I need arms and legs. I'm going to have to accept the
You're
legs,
just going to
right?
accept. You're going to have to accept that one. So that one now gets locked in.
That's a shame. I should have done that earlier.
Okay, and now Claire is looking for...
Oh, darn it.
Claire is going to take quite a bit of damage from this. The guy's going to die, but let's just figure out what's going on here. So
these 2 don't count because of my power armor.
Huh?
But these 2 hits don't count because of my power
Fine, so we
armor.
exclude 2 hits there, but he gets an extra hit in from the fact he's ranged and was taking you on at range.
So is that an extra hit, or is that like that as if you were now level 3?
It counts as an extra... It's an extra hit.
Okay.
It's just extra hit. So we add an extra hit on, so you suffer 2 hits, multiplied by 2,
So
up
that's
to 4.
4.
So Claire's getting a little low on the old
Plus
health
1
run.
damage from this.
Yes, plus an additional 1 damage, which there is no reason to believe that should be multiplied,
No,
because
that's
your
not
card...
a hit, it's a damage.
Yeah, your card just says 1 damage. So Claire's getting low on the old health.
I have 5 HP now.
Okay, but I believe you get a loot card.
I do get a loot card, and hopefully it might be... also, I get 2 XP, so that's going to
2 XP is good, so Claire's getting close to the next level already, which is really good. He also gets taken off the board, and I believe he was from the Super Duper Mart.
Yes.
So a new face down enemy goes on the Super Duper Mart. That's absolutely lovely. So, as a result, Claire gets loot and fills up her hand with...
Calmex, it's drugs. I was hoping for like stim or something.
I wouldn't say that's a problem, because that is a reroll on an A. So you can roll, you can re-roll and re-roll again thanks to your dice, and if you really need it, you could re-roll a 4th time, albeit with an E check for addiction, which might be a bit dangerous for you.
I was considering selling the drugs when I get to a town, but there's just nothing really in the shop.
And
that's
interestingly,
helpful.
if you end up like down here, getting back to megatons of pain on this distribution of tiles, like look at all that impassable terrain. That's a nightmare.
But at this point, I am down, like, pretty low, so I'm considering now if it might not be a good idea to go and, you know, stay in this area and fight a couple more bad guys.
Yeah.
And then just die and come back.
Yeah.
Because...
The way dying works is you basically have to throw away your entire hand, so Claire would have to sacrifice all these cards, but you get to keep anything that's installed. So she keeps her power armor, she keeps her combat knife, rad level stays exactly as is. So for me, my rad level would stay at 1, but Claire's not taken any rad so far. But when you die, you also get all your health back, and you go back to a square of your choosing on Crossroads Camp up in the top left. So as a result, tactically dying can potentially be a very good decision to make.
Yeah, and I mean, all the items that I have right now total up to 8 money if I were to buy them in the shop, but when you sell them in the shop, you sell them for 1 less. So I'm not losing massively on money. I already have some money, and I'm not going to use the drugs anyway. And I can't actually use the magazine anymore because I have luck now.
That's true. So I believe that's the end of the turn there.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the end of this particular turn. So what we're going to do now is simply just turn over.
Wait, no, that's what happened when we turned over. They
oh,
both
no, this is the
attacked me.
beginning of the turn.
Oh, sorry.
You're right. This is the beginning of the turn, not the end. We are, in fact, mistaken. We enter the turn, in fact, where I'm going to go and get myself probed by the aliens. Life is good. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I think you're going to have to come back tomorrow for that, because it's actually quite a long game to play through. So, we're going to split this up into a few parts. Welcome to Fallout the board game, a little midweek mini-series that we are running this week. So, come back tomorrow, where Claire is going to basically murder every single raider in the world with a big knife, running at them screaming in power armor, and probably regret unleashing the death claw upon the flipping wasteland, because that bastard's now going to start hunting her down, and it's going to be able to start moving very quickly in your direction. So,
I could try to go at him, and then if I die, I die.
That's not a bad idea. So basically, tune in tomorrow for Claire running at a deathclaw with a knife, and me trying to get myself anally probed by aliens if I'm very, very lucky indeed. All of that coming tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. But in the meantime, I've been John.
I've been Claire.
This has been Many a True Nerd, and this has been Fallout the board game. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Claire, show off what the button packaging does. That's amazing!
25, 50, 100, and then 110
If you need to hide the butter, you just fold the packaging onto the butter and it... that's amazing! That's such a good idea!
See,
How long has butter been doing this?
forever.